Let me say something that will make a lot of people uncomfortable. There are people out there who do not love their parents. Not because they're broken, not because they're ungrateful, not because they watch too many toxic videos online. They genuinely, deeply, painfully hate them. And if you think that's monstrous, I want you to stay with me for 7 minutes. Because by the end of this video, you won't just understand them. You might realize you've been one of them and spent years drowning in guilt for it. This feeling has a name, it has a neuroscience, it has a psychology so ancient and so human that denying it doesn't make it disappear, it only makes it heavier. So today, we're going to go there. To the place most psychology channels are too afraid to touch. Welcome back. I'm your host at Psychology Decoded. Let's begin. First, let's be very clear about something. Hating your parents is not a character flaw. It is a neurological response. The human brain is wired for attachment. From the moment you are born, your entire nervous system builds itself around one single goal, surviving through connection to your caregivers. Psychologist John Bowlby called this attachment theory. Your first relationship with your parents is literally the template your brain uses to understand love, safety, and the world itself. Now, here's where it gets dark. When the very person your brain is wired to run toward for safety is also the person causing the pain, the brain does something catastrophic. It splits. It cannot compute. This person loves me, and this person is hurting me at the same time. So instead of resolving the contradiction, it buries it. For years, sometimes for decades, until one day, something small happens. A text message, a dinner table comment, a phone call that ends exactly the way 1,000 phone calls ended before. And all that buried grief erupts not as sadness, as hatred. Let me explain something that psychologists call the cumulative wound effect. Most people look at someone who despises their parents and think something terrible must have happened. There must have been one devastating event. But that's almost never how it works. The reality is quieter and more devastating. It's the mother who never once said, "I'm proud of you," but rearranged your entire bedroom without asking. It's the father who showed up to every school event and spent the whole time correcting you in front of your friends. It's growing up in a house where you were fed, clothed, and educated, but never once felt like your feelings were allowed to exist in that room. One cold comment won't destroy a child, but 10,000 cold comments over 18 years will rewire a child's entire identity. Psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk showed that chronic emotional neglect, even without a single dramatic trauma, produces the same neurological damage as acute abuse. Your body keeps the score, even when your mind tells you to forgive and forget. So when someone tells you they hate their parents over something small, what they're actually showing you is the final drop that made 20 years of pressure finally overflow. Now, let's break down the psychology more precisely. People who reach genuine hatred for their parents almost always share one of 3 invisible wounds. Wound 1, emotional parentification. This is when the child was made to carry the emotional weight of the adult. You became your mother's therapist at age 7. You learned to read your father's mood from the sound of his footsteps on the staircase because the wrong response could ruin the entire house. You grew up, but you were never allowed to just be a child. And somewhere inside, a part of you never forgave them for stealing that. Wound 2, conditional love. I love you, but only when you're successful. I love you, but only when you're obedient. I love you, but only when you make me look good. Psychologists call this contingent self-worth when a child learns that their value is not intrinsic, but earned. These children grow into adults who either chase validation endlessly or one day stop chasing entirely, and the rage that follows that moment is immense. Wound 3, the invisible gaslighting. That never happened. You're too sensitive. After everything I've done for you, when your reality is denied often enough, your brain stops trusting itself, and the person who taught you to distrust your own mind becomes someone you cannot be near without that distrust flooding back. Here's the cruelest part. People who hate their parents rarely feel free. Society has a script. Honor your parents. They sacrificed for you. They did their best. And so the hatred, this very real, very valid neurological response to years of invisible wounds, gets coated in a thick layer of guilt. You hate them, and then you hate yourself for hating them. This is what psychologists call an emotional double bind. You cannot fully love them because the body remembers too much. You cannot fully hate them because society, religion, and your own heart won't allow it. So instead, you live in a gray zone, answering their calls with dread in your chest, attending family dinners with your jaw clenched, smiling at Christmas while your nervous system runs silent alarms. Researcher Joshua Coleman, one of the world's leading experts on family estrangement, found that adult children who feel estranged from parents don't feel liberated. They feel grief. Because what they're grieving is not the parent they had. It's the parent they never got and always needed. So what do you do with this? You don't have to choose between hating them and pretending to love them. The most psychologically advanced thing you can do is something most people never attempt. Hold two truths at once. Truth 1. Your parents were likely wounded people themselves. They parented from their own unprocessed trauma. That does not make what they did acceptable, but it makes it human. Truth 2. You are allowed to feel what you feel. Anger, grief, hatred, resentment. These are not sins. They are signals. They are your nervous system telling you where the wound still lives. Psychologist Tara Brach calls this radical acceptance. Not acceptance of the behavior, but acceptance of the reality of what happened so you can stop fighting the past and start building the present. You do not have to forgive them to be free. But you do have to stop pretending. Stop pretending you're fine at dinner. Stop pretending the comments don't cut. Stop lying to your own nervous system just to keep the family portrait intact. Because the moment you stop pretending, even if just to yourself, the weight begins to lift. If this video reached you today, it wasn't an accident. Maybe you've been carrying this feeling for years and didn't have a name for it. Maybe someone you love pushed you away and now you finally understand why. Maybe you just needed someone to say it out loud that this feeling doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you someone who needed more than they received. And that is not a crime. If you want to understand the psychology of the people you love and the psychology of yourself, this channel exists for exactly that reason. Subscribe to Psychology Decoded. Because every week, we go to the places most people are afraid to look. Not to judge, to understand. I'll see you in the next one.